Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. A couple of things when we get started. I'm sure you probably notice we're not wearing headphones. One of them broke,
Yeah.
and obviously I can sit here and wear mine, but it's awkward because it makes I don't know how you sound
Right.
and vice versa. So
Right.
to me, when I have the headset on, I hear our voices, but I'm always tempted to talk a little louder because they're more muffled.
Right.
So I'm afraid you're going to be talking quieter, and I'm going to be yelling at you. So
Don't yell at me.
so we tried to adjust the audio as best we could. I'm hoping it goes through okay. If not,
We'll see what happens.
we're going to be getting a new pair of headphones. So I apologize if the audio is messed up. Not really a whole lot I can do about that. We did make some adjustments to the audio. For some strange reason, our audio mixer decided to go Terminator and do everything on its own. It changed all of its audio around to the point where it sounded very weird. Um, so we're going to see how this works.
Yeah. Okay.
But yes, I will hand the floor over to you.
All right. Well, I just want to say welcome to all of our regular viewers, and we appreciate you being here. And to any new viewers, welcome. And we hope that you enjoy our episode. And like Brian said, hopefully tonight will be okay as far as audio. Here we go. So I'm going to read our disclaimer that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Yes.
So, last week's episode, and all of our episodes have, I would say probably for the last this will probably be the fourth week. So, the last three, we've been talking a lot about love, the soul, the spirit, talking about more than what we think we are.
Yeah, and in fact, I want to actually come forth and admit that I messed something up. So
No.
yeah. So I was on the right track with my explanation, but I did mix up the two
Okay.
with the soul and the spirit.
Okay.
The soul, because last week I said the soul was the emotion, or no,
No.
that the soul was the person you like the physical manifestation of you spiritually.
Right.
It's the other way around.
It is.
The soul is your feelings, the
Yes.
emotions, the essence of you. The spirit would be the body outside the physical.
Right. It's the true you.
Yeah.
It's your.
That's why I say it's the physical manifestation of you in a spiritual sense.
Right.
So like if your physical body didn't exist and we existed in a spiritual world,
That would be you.
you would see the spirit, but the soul is who you are.
It's your feelings and emotions.
It's who you are in an essence.
right.
Yeah. So I want to apologize. I completely mixed that up because I'm sitting there. I listened to a little bit of the podcast and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm saying the right things, but something's not lining up. So, and it's funny because you actually read it, and I don't know why I didn't catch it. But perfect example as to how I can even mess things up.
You mean you're human?
No, I ain't no human. But yeah, no, even that kind of goes into the thing of like, I am always willing to take accountability for,
Sure.
making
okay.
mistakes and misspeaking. So yeah, anyway, continue.
Okay. So in our last week's episode, which would have been episode 31, we talked about love, rest, and create. And I remember you had said, Brian, ooh, that last one, create, that's kind of interesting. We haven't really gotten into that one much. The love we have, and we probably will be touching again on that, but these all kind of go together. So if you're kind of like, this is your first one that you've seen, and you're like, I don't know what she's talking about, you can go back and watch those other episodes. I believe they start at 28, if I remember right. They start at 28, then 29, 30. Of course, tonight this is 32, but they all kind of mesh together. So last week's episode, we talked about how love, which is the heart and the intent, is because the intent is where the heart is. along with your mind, which is your thoughts, your words, and rest can work together to help us create our reality because we are love, light, frequency, and energy. And we haven't really dove into the light, frequency, and energy, but we are going to be doing that because that does have to deal a lot with the spirit. And I had said to you, Brian, that I feel, and I know we're both at different places, and that's okay. I believe we can actually create our reality. And you said that you believe that we can assist in our reality.
Yeah. Because the thing is, when you talk about the supernatural, the spirit, which I am not denying, I am saying that in the physical sense, there's a very limited spectrum of what you mean by creating your reality. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because again, I think I've mentioned this either in a live or in another episode, but it's like nobody can ever, no matter how much belief you might have, no matter how much effort you put in, whatever that might mean, you will never be able to fly. You will never be able to fly. And if you could, why hasn't it happened yet? That's what I'm saying.
Right.
There are physical limitations in our world that hold us back from the potential that we had. Because I'm not denying they weren't there. Now, obviously, this is getting kind of spiritual, so bear with us. But, I do believe that before the fall of mankind, we were more spiritual beings than physical, if not fully spiritual.
Yep.
And I do believe that we had potential to do things that we can no longer do now because of our physical flesh and bone limitations.
Okay. And I realize that's where you are. I agree with you, but not 100%.
Okay. Well, let's play a little debate here. So you're about to watch the Brian come out, the real Brian, the debate Brian come out. Give me an example of what you have experienced.
Experienced myself or what I've been researching?
Research is subjective because you haven't experienced it. I'm talking about your experience alone.
Okay. So I haven't experienced anything as far as have I gone into another dimension or have I, gone into another realm. I
would hope not.
Okay. I'm just telling you that I think that those things are possible.
Okay, again, that I can sit here and tell you that a lot of things could be possible.
Right.
But
I mean, I'm not.
You can, because the thing is you can't just take everything for face value.
I understand that.
I'm asking you your experience.
Well, I haven't had one.
Okay, so yeah. So because you haven't had one and you hear of someone else or something else that did, that doesn't prove anything.
You can't negate it.
It's not it's not disprovable. It's a subjective it's subjective reality at that point.
Right, exactly.
Because again, as far as I am aware, and please feel free to leave a comment if you want to engage in on this debate. I've read articles of people raising others from the dead, but it's never been proven.
Okay, but if somebody got on here tonight and said that they've done any one
of
those things,
I would need to see proof.
Okay, and I understand where you're coming. I would need to see,
because again, you can't just believe everything for face value. I could sit here and tell you I flew.
I get that.
How do you know I didn't?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can say anything I want. But then you would tell me, demonstrate.
Right. But you can't just say because your mother, me sitting here, hasn't experienced any of those things that they haven't happened. Because maybe somebody out there that has happened to, and you just don't know about it.
Well, it's like the stories in the Bible, right? We go back to the books of the Old Testament where people were raised from the dead there, right? We can sit there and believe that as Christians, right? Like I would sit there and say, yeah, I believe that happened, but that's what it is. It's belief. It's faith. I didn't see it happen. Does that mean I didn't think it happened? It's the same concept of what you're saying. I'm not saying that the things you're saying aren't possible or couldn't happen. I'm saying there has been nothing shown to me to prove that it's a reality.
And I'm kind of on that same page.
Or that it could happen.
Right. So I'm on that same page with what you just said. Okay. Have I experienced it? No. Do I know anybody that it's happened? No. I'm saying that that possibility could be there.
Oh, again, it could be. That's the thing. It could,
Yeah.
but is.
Yeah, but you can't just sit here and say because I don't know someone that it happened to,
No,
because no
it's
one's ever physically come up to me and said, "Hey, I went into another dimension, or I've gone into another realm, or I've raised someone from the dead."
at that point I would need proof.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But because no one has done that, you can't sit here and say that those things don't exist.
Well, how can you sit
can't.
here and say that they
We-
can or can't either?
Exactly.
We're both arguing the same point from different sides of the fence.
Thank you.
And the thing is that neither one of us are wrong and neither one of us is right.
Exactly.
But my point is that the evidence supports my side more so than yours. Because unless you have evidence, which, again, it's like the same thing with everything that I talk about in my debates, evidence has to be shown for objective reality to step in. Because everything you're saying right now is purely subjective.
Only because
And I could sit here and say that arguably, like playing devil's advocate, so is mine. Like, I am not denying that.
Right.
What I'm denying is that if these things can happen, why hasn't anyone done it yet?
you don't
And
know
I
that.
mean in this time.
But you
I'm
don't
pretty
know
sure if somebody started flying, it would be all over the news.
that. I don't know.
Have you
what do you
seen
mean
how
by- well, what
have
do
you
you-
seen how fast things fly on social media? No
well-
pun intended.
Well, no, but like,
I mean, imagine a bunch of people going to a graveyard and raising somebody from the dead. How, even if the media didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, somebody is going to record it.
I don't know, Brian.
Things get out like crazy in today's world.
I'm just saying that the possibility could be there.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that it couldn't be. I'm just saying, why hasn't it been brought forth? That's my thing. Because I'm not willing to deny the idea that we are spiritual beings internally. I personally believe that we are. Whether or not our viewers or, anybody else believes it
Right.
is irrelevant.
Exactly.
The point is that we are confined by a physical barrier for a reason, which is a whole nother subject in and of itself. But the idea that God put us in the scenario that we're in because of our own actions had to have a purpose. And if we could bypass it, it makes his entire plan completely redundant, irrelevant. It's like the idea of Christ dying on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
If we could physically do something to earn our own salvation through good works or other things like that, then Jesus' sacrifice on the cross was literally for nothing, because it was everything. So I'm using that same
Right.
concept in the scenario of saying, could we do this or can we?
Right.
Technically, yes,
Right.
but we can't because of our physical barrier,
Right.
our physical bodies.
And I understand what you're saying about Jesus on the cross, but a lot of people negate a lot of that too. As far as I say that to say this, the argument sits on both sides of the fence, because a lot of people feel that the salvation is all done by works,
Yeah, which
you and I know it's not.
and again, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother. That's a whole
com-
nother podcast.
That's a whole nother episode, but and maybe we'll talk
Do you
about
know
it
what
on
I'm
one of
saying?
our lives. But like,
That's where we both sit right now.
but the idea
Exactly.
is that in that scenario, one
Mm-hmm.
side believing it's works, the other side not.
Mm-hmm.
There is there's multiple evidences to suggest one side.
Mm-hmm.
One side is objectively right, because the Christ dying on the cross for the sins of humanity is set in stone. Jesus even said it is finished. So you have the other side that says, no, I have to do good things and be a good person to gain God's grace. There's nothing in the Bible that says you need to do that after the covenant of grace.
Right.
So there in the Bible sets it apart. And the idea that we're arguing debating is the exact same thing, is that your side says it's possible.
Yes.
My side says it's not currently.
Okay.
And which side has more evidence to suggest the idea?
Mm-hmm. You just want more proof.
It's not even that I want proof. I'm saying just one.
Okay.
Just show me something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would even dare say, not even a video on the internet. I'm talking a bunch of people going to a graveyard and seeing it happen, raising somebody from the dead, or taking flight, or teleporting to the other side of the world. Now, obviously, some of these things could be done by scientific measures. Like there are scientists right now discovering how to extend the life of humans, right? Or we have teleportation devices, or pieces of technology that can allow humans to fly. But you notice the thing with that? It's all separate from the meat suit.
Meat suit.
It's all separate from us. It has to be something external.
Okay.
And it works the same way in Christianity, is that we in and of ourselves can do nothing, but he that is within us can, something separate from us.
Okay. But he lives inside you. And I know this is a whole nother podcast that we could get into.
Yeah, it is.
It-
And we're gonna
this could get
we're
really
gonna
deep.
we're gonna conclude the debate section because this is already going on.
Because my mind right now wants to ask you a lot of questions that will really take us off the rail.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the mini section of the Give 'em Heck podcast, where you see Brian's debate come out. You see why it's hard for people to debate me?
No, but and I understand and I appreciate it, but we're kind of on the same page, but we're not. And like I said, I could ask you a lot of questions right now but it would
I probably have a lot of answers.
Right, and that's fine, but
whether or not you'd like them.
it would derail us from where we're going. But we've opened up a can of worms just a little bit, and I like that.
You got a sneak peek of the next
Of
episode
the
coming
next
up.
episode. Yeah, okay. So anyway, we'll carry on. So when we talked about love, rest, and create, one of the things that I had mentioned to you, Brian, about love was that perfect love. In love, or there is no fear in love, we'll say that. That perfect love casts out all fear. And I loved the fact that you had talked about one of your friends last week, who was an atheist, I think you said. That his big thing right now with believing that there is a God is because of the love factor. Remember when you said that? I loved that.
It grounds him in a morality that he cannot reject. Even if he would say to my face he doesn't believe in God, it's almost like he believes in the concept.
Well, God is love.
Well, I mean, it is a perfect system. Excuse the stutter. It is a perfect system of love because it completely overrides the corruption that we as humans have. There's no other religion on this earth where a God loved his creation so much that he died for them.
Right.
So when you have even a guy who would tell me that he is an atheist and doesn't believe in God, he believes the concept and he uses that as a grounds of morality because of the authority that it has behind it. It has no man behind it. It has no subjective morality behind it. It has no subjective fact. It's all objective. So it helps him to not only live his life, but show value in other humans.
There you go. Well, only love can do that.
Love prevails.
Love is everything. Without love, there is no morality. That's the only thing that keeps everything together.
Yeah.
And you don't have to look far to find that. Look at the condition of the world.
Well, I would say that the world has shown what the absence of God can do.
There you go.
It opens up a concept of how do you define what morality is. You have one side that what they think is doing is moral, and then you have the other side that they think what they're doing is moral. Well, that's what happens when you put a man in the middle of it. Or I should say, put man, plural, all, in the middle of it. Right. Is that nobody can decide what morality is.
Well, there's no standard to go by. How do you measure it?
You can't. You literally can't, because again, what's moral to you might not be moral to me, and vice versa. Exactly. So that's why you need to have an authority behind it, whether it's God or a grounded subjective reality. Like, you could use the concept of objective morality absent God, but then it creates a system of, well, what gives me the right or lack thereof to override that humanity or override that morality for any reason I want. Exactly. If there's no authority behind it, yeah, I can abide by that morality for as long as I want. But what happens if one day I just don't want to?
Right. Yeah, there's no foundation.
And then how do you define that my new decision
Right.
isn't moral in and of itself?
Exactly.
Is morality based around the concept of many or the few?
Hmm.
And how do you know that the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many and vice versa?
Right.
It creates a whole new can of worms. But when you have an ultimate authority, like, for example, God's morality through love and grace,
Yes.
it's an ultimate authority that cannot be overridden because it is something absent man.
Right.
It is something above man. Whether you believe it or not is not the point.
Right.
Because, like my atheist friend said, he doesn't believe in God.
Right.
But the concept of his morality, of God's morality,
Keeps him
has
grounded.
has a foundation that he logically cannot break because
Right.
it's consistent.
Right. It keeps him grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we talked about, and I thought this was kind of neat, and I had mentioned to you that your breath controls your mind, not the other way around. And we had gone into that a little bit. If you want to know more on that, I won't expound on it. You can go back to episode 31, and I give some examples about that. Then this is where the actual podcast kind of resonated, is with rest. And I had read the definition that rest is coherence, a measure of the pattern of the heart's rhythm. It is a state of rest, which is a state of being and not doing. Everything flows out of rest. It helps the body to operate in harmony, not in discord. It brings us to a place of health and wholeness. Consciously and intentionally, we can begin to come to that place of balance. And we've been talking about balance. And the part that I kind of liked in this too, as I was rereading this today, was that rest is a state of being, not doing. And a lot of times we tend to try to make things happen like overly. You know what I mean? Like we just get so caught up in the everyday life. Does that make sense? That if we don't do this, this won't happen, or, you know, because life can get so busy that we try to make things happen even when they're not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of like stress and mayhem. And I think sometimes we just need to sit back and stop the doing and just be. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I have said that we are, instead of body, soul, and spirit, that I believe that we are spirit, soul, and body from our innermost being. When they are not in when they are not in harmony, they can cause discord, physical effects. We've been taught body, soul, and spirit, but I believe when we put our spirit first, the soul and the body will follow. And you had mentioned that earlier, Brian, that if we didn't have this physical body, that we would actually be spirit. Mm-hmm. And I had also mentioned that I don't think it's a problem with people, you know, taking care of their bodies, you know, whether it's exercising, eating right, and that kind of thing. But I think today we just don't really deal a lot with the spirit. And we are going to get into the soul part of it today, but you don't have to go far today to see that where the soul deals with a lot of emotions and feelings, that people don't really have a good balance on their soul either.
No. We do rely a lot more on what our bodies feel, what our emotions tell us to believe. And recently, you know, I've been going through some stuff with my project, and it's like the amount of, it's like I really do define a difference between emotion and logic. I think logic is more spiritual because it's more grounded. Emotion is more physical because it's very in the moment.
It can change.
Yeah.
Logic is logic.
Yeah, logic is not just a mindset or a point of view. It's a reaction. It's a reaction to what's going on around you. And to think of a situation that is devoid of logic, what would it be filled with? It'd be filled with emotion.
Right.
Yeah. Whether or not the emotion is justified or not is not the point. But when you have an absence of logic, emotion drives you, and sometimes can make a situation, again, even if you are completely justified, can put you in a position where you're worse off than you would have been had you just approached it from a more logical perspective.
Right. So where do the feelings fit in?
It's all physical.
Okay.
It's all physical. To me, and it's kind of like what you said earlier, is there has to be a balance. And I know emotions can be used. I like to define it as the emotion is the body, logic is the armor. Because you can use emotion to back up the logic of your whatever point you're going through. It's like justified anger, justified sadness,
Okay.
justified
There's
happiness.
nothing wrong with the feeling,
It's-
but
it-
you got to keep a check on it.
The justification is the logic in front of the emotion. Yeah.
Okay.
There has to be a balance. They cannot, absent one side, whether it's absent logic or absent emotion, they cannot exist separately.
No, because then you have chaos.
One creates chaos, the other creates distance. Like, I'll use Star Trek as an example. You have Spock. Spock is very logic based,
Yes,
very cold emotionally. He doesn't let his emotions determine an outcome,
that's good.
and he will gladly put others in danger if the scenario calls for a logical response.
Yes. Okay, that's great.
And that's what I'm saying. That would be the perfect example of a lack of emotion.
So, what do you see in the world today, Brian?
I see too much emotion. And there is nothing that can convince me of that otherwise. Society as a whole thrives off of emotion, particularly negative emotion. There is no, again, you can be 100% justified in the actions you're doing through the emotions that you feel, but without logic, it becomes absolute chaos.
And then people get hurt.
People get hurt.
So there's the unbalance of where I'm
Well,
saying people are today.
It's kind of like some of these videos I watch where, people get their cars repossessed. I can be angry that my car is getting repossessed, but what is me going out there and making the tow truck driver's job miserable? What does that
Right.
do for me? What does that do for anybody? It doesn't do anything. It just delays the inevitable, as opposed to, oh, I'm angry, but what do I need to do to fix this?
You mean
And then the anger, the emotion can be a motivating force to help you get the job done,
right? To be better,
to be better.
be the better person.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's going to end up being the inevitable outcome. But you've often said this before. It also is in how you're going to handle that situation, and you can let it work for you instead of against you.
Yeah.
You know.
And anger, I shouldn't just call out anger, but emotions, they do have their place. There can be instances where emotion can be the primary driving force behind your actions and it be completely justifiable. For example, a breakup. People that go through breakups, they oftentimes will be devoid of logic in the long term and break down and think their lives are over, romantically because of a breakup.
Right.
To me, it's illogical, but it's justifiable. It's like, yeah, you've had a romance taken out of your life that that you felt was perfect, but letting the emotions out helps clear the mind and make a way for logic to step in and be like, maybe that relationship was not as good
As
I thought it was.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, everybody deals with breakups differently, but that's an example I can give.
Right. Makes sense. So we had given some definition of spirit, soul, and body. The spirit is a supernatural, incorporeal being, especially one inhabiting a place, object, etc., or having a particular character. It is not composed of matter, having no material existence. The soul is the emotional part of human nature, the seat of feelings or sentiments, a thought, opinion, or idea based on a feeling about a situation or a way of thinking about something.
See, that's what I was referring to at the beginning when I corrected myself. You said it, but it didn't click. I had to go back and be like, what did I miss? Because it was bothering me. And that summed it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The body is a physical structure of a person or an animal, including the bones, flesh, and the organs. That's pretty simple. So I had she's actually my cousin on Facebook. I mean, she's my friend on Facebook too, but she had left a quote on there and I loved it because I had said this about people who just continually work on their physical part of their body. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but they don't deal with their soul, they don't deal with their spirit. And I'm to blame for that. You know, yes, I like to take care of myself, but I'm now starting to realize, especially with dealing with mom and dad's death and what it was doing to me, that I needed to look within myself to find that balance. And what did that mean? That meant, you know, taking care of my soul and my spirit too, right? And I had said last week that you can have a beautiful body and look really good. But the thing is if your insides are ugly, I don't care how pretty you are on the outside, you're still an ugly person.
Oh yeah, to me the inside matters
Absolutely.
more than
the outside.
yeah. And I'm not even saying that from a romantic perspective because obviously everybody has preferences, but I'm saying like you just said, you could have an amazing outward appearance, but your inside could be rotten. And vice versa. You could have somebody who has
oh yes, it's true, Brian.
You know, a not preferable for putting it lightly, outside appearance, but you could have an amazing soul.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So this quote was, "A beautiful face will age, a perfect body will change, but a beautiful soul will always be a beautiful soul."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you good with working the next part? Okay, so in tonight's podcast, we're going to discuss rest for the soul. And again, we're talking about that. And with the soul, again, it's the emotional part of the human nature. So what do you think of, Brian, when I say rest for the soul?
Trying to think of how to put it into words. What I have to say, it's rest beyond the body. It's like finding a scenario or a situation or a place where even though life around you is chaotic, you can rest internally.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to the secret place, you know.
I like that.
Your bedroom, you know, or on a drive.
It's deeper.
You know, like you could still be going through a lot physically, but you find that escape.
Yeah.
And it's resting inside internally.
And that's what I was just saying about with everything that had happened to me. And we were talking about that tonight after our TikTok that, you know, we started this podcast over a year ago. And from where we started to where, and I'm speaking for myself, to where we are now, how much I've grown. Do I have a long way to go? Absolutely. Do I understand everything? No, I don't. I'm still learning. But looking at, like, we were looking on our TikTok at episode 20, and it's like, wow. I'm pretty proud of myself. You know, yeah, again, do I have a long way to go? Absolutely. But even just from, you know, 6 months, 8 months ago, I feel I'm at a much, much better place. And, you know, we talk about, you were saying, you know, finding that secret place or finding that thing that helps you to heal. And that was one of the reasons why we started this podcast. You know, and there's many other things that you can do to help yourself, but I like your explanation is what I'm saying, because that's what we're talking about. So we often talk about feelings and emotions and how people need to keep a check on them. It's easy to lose touch with your soul when life becomes overwhelming. Things like work, responsibilities, and society pressures can play on our emotions, and stress can set in. When this happens, you may start to feel lost or disconnected and unbalanced. And that's basically what you were saying. So what do you do, Brian? Because you can't tell me that you feel balanced all the time. There's no way.
Oh, no, I'm perfect.
Shut up.
Well, you know, I have my hobbies. You know, I have things absent my friend groups that if I find myself getting in a position where I'm too overwhelmed or something, I go to my secret place, you know, my games, my shows. You know, I find the thing that helps me detach from the physical, so to speak.
Okay, so you know those places and what you need to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that you, and I'm just asking this for you because with life being so overwhelming sometimes, I think sometimes we put off finding that time to find that balance again, like you said, spending time alone or whatever you need to do. Do you feel you listen to your body enough? Because I know sometimes it gets away from me and I find myself like getting angry or frustrated or just, you feel and I'm like, okay, I haven't spent that time to get myself back in check and now I need to do that. Do you find that you're pretty good about listening to yourself?
Yeah, I kind of know where my limit is.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that there's rarely a time where I get so overwhelmed with myself that I break down.
Yeah. With me, I think the struggle is that, and I'm working on this, it's not so much that I don't know that I need to find that time for myself, but I let people dictate that time.
I don't.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I let those situations kind of carry me to that place where now I'm like, okay, it's gone too far. You know what I mean? And I need to work on that. But we all have things we need to work on, right?
No.
All right, so some common signs that indicate you may need to reconnect. So I found these, and there could be more, but these are just some that I found. So these are some things that you might want to look at that will help you to say, okay, I need to slow down and find some time for myself. You may feel unfulfilled or stuck. You struggle with decision making. You experience frequent anxiety, stress, or emotional numbness. You feel overwhelmed, making it difficult to process your feelings. You seek external validation to define your worth. We've talked about that a lot. You have a persistent sense of emptiness or lack of purpose. You feel disconnected from your emotions. And these are all some of the ones that I found that, and I've experienced all of them. Some not as much now as I used to because I'm trying to keep a better check on those. But you want to add anything or keep going?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so why is connecting with your soul important? Well, I'm asking you that, Brian, before I read these. Why do you think it's important, other than, saying an obvious answer? You can even use yourself as an example of why you think it's important.
Well, I think it's the same amount of importance as if you were to neglect your body. It's really very easy to define how that is a bad thing. You neglect the body, a lot can go wrong.
Right.
You neglect your soul, you do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just works more internally than externally. And it's kind of funny to me how a physically broken person can still have a good soul, but a broken soul will eventually rot you from the inside out.
And that is what I was saying earlier, where physical ailments will start happening.
Yeah.
Right?
It has, when it's already on the body, it can't really go anywhere.
Right.
Because at that point, to me, you've already signaled to yourself when you let yourself go physically that you've kind of already given up, that there wasn't really anything internally to begin with. But when you have a scenario where somebody gives up internally, even if they take care of themselves to some degree, it'll still work its way out, through negative emotions,
yes.
Overreactions, all of the things that you can point to, they have a root that burrows deep.
Yep. Yeah, because why people like you said, anger, for instance, all of these things that are coming out, that there is a much seated, deeper root to those issues that they just haven't taken care of. Yeah. So the soul is really important and I can say that because with grieving with mom and dad, it was starting to physically affect me. And that's, that was basically the thing that turned it all around. So why is connecting with your soul important? Because you gain clarity about your purpose, your values, and your passions. Your soul can guide you by making decisions from a place of inner knowing rather than fear or doubt. You tend to have a sense of peace and confidence. You respond to difficulties with inner strength and emotional balance instead of reacting impulsively. And that one right there is what I think we see a lot happening in the world today,
Oh yeah.
is that people just respond impulsively instead of having any type of inner strength and emotional balance.
Yeah.
So what went wrong, Brian? When you see what you see, like on the news, and we'll just use that because everybody knows what or where I'm going. What went wrong?
It would be a lot easier to tell you what didn't than it would be to tell you what did. Because so much went wrong. You've had ignorance, greed, rage. I would even probably say to some extent, there's probably a little, I don't know if jealousy would be involved. I've seen some aspects where it's like jealous of the attention in some scenarios, probably not like mainstream stuff, but I remember seeing this one thing where, you had somebody who, I can't remember, was it a celebrity or just somebody? I can't remember, but basically what had happened was there was this show going on, and it was a bunch of like, it was like I don't want to call it like a muscle show, like, like guys flexing and stuff. There was a bunch of other stuff going on. And there was a girl in the crowd who got so jealous at another girl because she was fawning over the person that she was fantasizing over, that they got into a physical altercation because of it. And that happens quite a bit. So, there's jealousy involved. And all of it really just comes down from a lack of two things, which we have discussed multiple times on this show: empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
Because when you're willing to do harm to another person over things that you are taking to a whole nother level, when physical pain is involved without a legitimate, justified reason, when it is based entirely out of just emotion, you can't justify it to me. Because we have things in place to properly combat these things.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about combat like hand to hand. I'm talking about like there are systems that we can use in our society and in our world to combat the evil that we see.
Yeah.
And we just refuse to go the legitimate right route and go down this alternate route of, I'm going to swing my fists and get angry because apparently I have no other option.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. I've made this example before. It's just like all these police videos I watch. You get a guy pulled over for simply not getting buckled in, and he loses his mind over like a $50 ticket. You know what? Pay the ticket and move on with your day.
And buckle up.
And maybe buckle up next time.
Buttercup.
There are unfortunate things that happen, but stop taking things so personally.
Well, that's the society we've got now.
Well, it's like, what good does it do you to act out? What good does it do? It doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
I mean, again, look at the news.
I know.
There is a right and a wrong way to deal with it, whether or not, and I'm not saying one side or the other, because I'm sure by the news we all know what I'm talking about. It's not about what side is wrong. It's about what are the right ways to combat it. Because clearly what's happening now is not working.
It's not working. Yeah. Well, I don't think physical
and that is
actions is never okay.
And that's the point of this entire thing, and we're going to loop back around to the point. This is what happens when you don't exercise the logic and empathy of the soul.
Yep.
You rely completely on the aspect of the physical, and you just react.
There you go.
And it puts you in a bad position, it puts the other party in a bad position, and then before you know it, you're both in a hole.
Yep. It
doesn't do either of you any good.
Yep. And we always say it starts with you, right? It starts with me, it starts with you. And if that means that, you know, one or two people just take the time to turn this ship around, whether it means maybe searching your soul, okay, then that's where it starts, right? Because you are the most important person in your life, but it has to start somewhere.
Well, it's like, how many times have I thought to myself, I could react this way, and I could be 100% justified, but what good does it do me in the long run?
Well,
I think there are very, very specific circumstances where you can use emotion as your primary driving force, and it makes sense.
Right.
And it will work to your benefit. But then there are others that don't. And it's not a one-sided coin either. Because if I react with emotion, the way the other party reacts can also keep the boat going in the direction it's going.
True. And you can't control other people.
It takes two to tango.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. So now we're going to talk about 6 powerful practices to connect with your soul. So there were more. I just picked 6. So if you want to do a little deep diving yourself, these 6 I found because they're ones that I really like. So one is mindful meditation. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and focus on your breathing.
That's kind of like the one I was saying.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the breathing part, but
yeah,
finding that place.
Yes. Sometimes quiet is good. Number 2, engage in creative expression. Creative activities such as painting, writing, dancing, or playing music can serve as a direct channel to your soul. And I will say this, it really depends on the type of music. Like sometimes, Brian, when I'm coming home from work, depending on how I feel, sometimes I want to listen to really loud, heavy music. And sometimes...
Me in a nutshell.
Right? Sometimes I want quieter music. Sometimes I don't want any music at all. I just want quiet. So, it doesn't mean that you always have to listen to quiet, peaceful, soft music. Sometimes I get in the car and Metallica sounds good, my friend. Play it loud. So whatever you need to do. Spend time in nature is number 3. Nature has a unique ability to ground us and reconnect us with our inner selves. The natural world operates in harmony. Journaling. Journaling your thoughts and feelings is a powerful way to connect with your soul. And I love journaling because to me, journaling is very private. I like to write down my thoughts. I don't have to worry about thinking, like when I'm writing stuff down, if I mess up or my spelling's not correct, or you know what I mean? It's very personal. Mm-hmm. It's me. I don't have to worry about what anybody else thinks about what I'm writing down. It's just a nice way to get things off your chest. And I know talking to people is good, but sometimes, it's another private moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then number 5 is practice breath work. And we talked a little bit about that last week. By focusing on your breath, you can enter altered states of consciousness, access deep-seated emotion, and connect with your inner essence. Number 6, seek solitude. Solitude provides the quiet space needed to turn inward and listen to your inner voice. Can you imagine, Brian, with the world the way it is today, with these 6 steps we just said, if the people that we see, and you can just, imagine what I'm talking about within your head, if just a few of them would take the time to do this, maybe what type of a different scenario, world, outcome we would have. I'm not saying everybody's perfect because I'm still working on this. You're still I get that. But again, it just takes a few, right? To put down the sword and just say enough is enough, right? When do we fix ourselves from the outside instead of saying, okay, we're not a bunch of animals? When do we look at ourselves and say, I'm worth more than this? When do we look at ourselves and say, I want to be the difference? When do we look at ourselves and just say, this is where it's going to start?
If I had an answer for that, I would have already said it. The problem is that we as I don't want to say we because it's, thank God, not the vast majority, but the people that we see causing the most trouble in life, and that's not just referring to news. I'm talking about like even in our own personal lives. These people are so detached.
There's the word.
They're so detached from reality that their actions to them have no consequences.
Ooh.
And the problem is that even in a personal perspective, when you have somebody in your life that doesn't value the concept of you and only puts themselves first, you have a very toxic, abusive, destructive, emotional friendship or relationship. It's the one who's willing to put, like you said, the one who's willing to put their sword down and instead open their arms.
Mm.
Because, you always look at what we see in the world, all the violence and hatred. What do you think would happen if we turned it around?
Wow.
And I'm talking about all sides.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about one. I'm talking about all.
Yep.
Where we set apart the
Differences.
the difference in the malice and instead realize that we're all human. We all have wants and desires. But it's all about doing things right. And again, that goes for all sides. Because I don't want to make it sound like I'm pointing at one side.
Right.
I'm talking both.
Right.
There is sides, or there are things that both sides are doing that are wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that could benefit from adjustment.
Yep.
But you know where it starts? It starts with you.
Yeah.
You can't look at the other side and be like, well, I'll change if you do.
Ooh.
Well, what makes you better than them?
Yeah.
Even if you have the moral high ground, then act like it.
Right. I know.
And that goes in all things. What we see in the world and what happens in our own personal lives. And you know where that starts? With your soul.
Yep.
If you react in a violent and destructive way, to me, that is blatant evidence that your soul is corrupted,
Mm-hmm.
and that you need to get a check on it.
Mm-hmm. So where does that disconnect happen, Brian? I'm not going to say when.
Oh, well,
because,
obviously it could be a multitude of things.
Like,
It could be a multitude of things. It could be the way they were brought up. It could be indoctrination. It could be 100 different things. Like it's not just a one-sided solution. We're looking at the symptoms of a bigger issue. And obviously, I could go into it.
I know. I was waiting for what your next reaction was going to be.
Oh, I could go into it.
Oh, I know you could. I know, because we've had these discussions. And it's sad because, like, we're turning into the animal kingdom.
Yeah, ironically, that's actually part of it. But...
Well, and it is lack of empathy and sympathy, but it's lack of love, Brian.
On both sides.
Absolutely. Yep. There it is. So we're going to be wrapping this up soon, but if you want to say anything else, go ahead.
Nope, because this will become a whole nother podcast episode.
Okay. So we do say that your journey is not a destination. It is in the becoming of who you are. A journey is a long and often difficult process of personal change and development. It is a spiritual journey. So before I read our last quote, do you want to say anything before we wrap this up?
Nope.
Okay. So this is a quote that I have found. I really liked it to kind of end all of this is, your soul didn't come here to fit in. It came to remember who you are, your identity. This is purpose, not confusion. And when you know your purpose, you stop needing approval. Direction is louder than applause.
That's good. Do you have who that's from?
I do not. Nope. Isn't that great? And these are the reasons why with these podcasts, and I just want to say to our viewers, we're not just pinpointing one side or the other, or just saying you, or, we know we need work. This kind of stuff, and I'm going to say for me, Brian, and I think for you, I've gotten into this because I knew in my life that things needed to change. The direction was not good.
But you didn't do that change with hatred and violence.
No.
You did it with self-love and compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Just like we should be doing on an outward perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's both sides.
It is. And we've talked about in other episodes of it starts with loving yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it works on the outward, right? And
Yep.
there it is.
And there it is.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to read our quote before we go. Believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Know that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on any notifications. Know that we do have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. We do have a Facebook page at Give 'em Heck Podcast. That is the name of our Facebook page. And we do put our videos on there along with YouTube and any announcements or, things that are going to be coming up. And we do have a TikTok that you could follow us on at Give 'em Heck Official. And just to let you know that we will not be on next Saturday night. It is Friday. I'm believing it's Friday or it's Saturday. No, I think it's Saturday. It's Valentine's Day. So we won't be here next weekend, but the weekend after, and I don't have the date on that, but the weekend after we will be doing a live podcast. So I will be putting announcements out for that. So please join our Facebook because that will tell you again. But that live podcast will be the weekend after the Valentine's weekend, which is this coming weekend. So we will not have an episode then. I hope that made sense.
No.
So, okay. All right. And I am good for the night, Brian, unless you want to add anything.
Nope. I'd say we did a pretty good job. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.